Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, episode, 116. We're recording on November 11th. You're watching it probably November 13th, Thursday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the official free-to-play podcast of MMOBomb.com. I'm your host, Magicman. With me, as he always is, my very good friend, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
This is the official free-to-play podcast, not to be confused with any particular rogue Steam pages for MMO.
Yes, as you...
This is the only one. We're the real guys.
Yes. So as you can see, there's lots of backroom drama going on right now, but it's all good. It'll all work out. But we're here to talk about the latest in the free-to-play world, and, well, quite frankly, there's only really one topic we could lead with today, so let's slide over to the news. We've got some trailers, some game footage for things. We've got, of course, Jason Winter's usual editorial pieces to talk about. Let's get it covered right now in the news. All right, first off this week, big news, obviously, BlizzCon. And it's funny how things have changed, right? A couple of years ago, we wouldn't even have talked about BlizzCon on this show besides, hey, BlizzCon happened. Because that was it. There was no free-to-play options within Blizzard. Now, with Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm and possibly another title, I don't know. We'll see. In the works that could be free-to-play and are free-to-play. There's quite a few things to talk about, so let's go through. I wanted to start with, if we could, Hearthstone. You are... many people
I'm an expert pro Hearthstone player.
Right. But what a lot of people may not know, unless they've read like your bios and stuff, is that you are from the TCG world, in actually designing and making and writing the text and stuff for different card games. So yep. I'm really interested to get your take on Hearthstone as a whole and the first expansion that was announced. So talk about your feelings of the game in general first, just coming from that background. I'm going to show the Goblins trailer while we talk about it.
Sure. It's solid. I mean, it's a good game. It doesn't do anything necessarily spectacular or amazing, but that's kind of the Blizzard MO, and that they don't... I hate to say it, they don't necessarily innovate. You know, I don't necessarily know if I want to go that way with it, but they do tend to take what's worked with other games, kind of perfect it or improve upon it in their own way and make something good out of it. And I think they've done a really good job, especially with the electronic conversion of it. The fact that there's most online games, at least prior to the last few years, were ports of physical games like Magic the Gathering Online, stuff like that, or even if you played like a Yu-Gi-Oh game on your DS or whatever, and they were confined to. They still had to produce the physical game and still do stuff in that realm. Whereas with Hearthstone, they're allowed to do a lot more things. All the flashy card effects, ability to randomly take stuff out of your hand or whatever without having to do die rolls or whatever. So they really did a good job of adapting something as a fully electronic card game without having to worry about the physical parts of it.
This is also the type of game that I get lost in, right? I mean to log in and play a match or two or whatever and end up playing for about 2 or 3 hours. Because
there's a lot of just one more game.
Exactly. I mean, it is incredibly addictive. Say what you want. Yes, it might be, in the overall scheme, pretty simplistic, especially when you compare it to something like a Magic the Gathering or a Might and Magic card game there. Hex. We're seeing a lot more come out about Hex now, and that's relatively more complex than Hearthstone. It's very simplistic, one resource, 2 different attributes, go, and it's very pick up and play. And like you said, that's kind of Blizzard's MO.
Well, and the thing
lately.
is too, they're
very public about it. I mean, they're not abashed about it, and they shouldn't be. The
thing is, there were so many collectible card games that came out that had, let's introduce this complex tier of mechanics and political system or whatever. And like 90% of them failed, and you almost have to kind of keep it simple. That's not a bad thing to do.
So we're getting our first expansion, which of course first started the whole internet argument of we've already had an expansion. Not really. Nax is being billed as an adventure in quotes. So not technically an expansion, since it was more of the single-player PvE side of things. So this is the first expansion, Goblins and Gnomes. It comes out in December, so we've got about a month before we're going to see it. adds at least 120 new cards to the mix. There were also 10 collectible cards that were actually revealed. Now, there's usually more than that when they drop batches of cards, but we're going to go with the number 130 then. Since they said at least 120 and we saw 10 collectible cards, we're going to go with at least 130, but probably more. They can, of course, be obtained the shop, the arena, crafting. I'm kind of in the air on this one decision that they made. They're going to be sold in their own packs, separate from the classic cards, but the costs are the same. So I kind of like that in one respect, coming from playing Magic for years and years and years, and being able to buy the specific booster packs. And did I want to buy a revised pack? Did I want to buy a Fallen Empires? Yeah, I just dropped two really, really old names.
Nobody wanted to buy Fallen Empires.
Nobody wanted to buy Fallen Empires. So I do kind of like it in that respect, but since this isn't really a physical card game, I think the collecting aspect is lost on this one. I don't feel the need to collect all these cards like I did within the physical world when I play these, so I kind of wish, there's a part of me that wishes that they were just all smushed together, but I'm willing to live with this because everything's the same price anyway. You could buy it with the gold and all that jazz.
Yeah, that wouldn't really make it seem like an expansion to me if they just
right
together. You get 5 card packs. It could be whatever. Especially if you think down the road when they have like 10 expansions or whatever. Then what?
Here's the thing that's a bit weird though, a bit different is once it launches, Arena will only reward the expansions cards in the packs.
That I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, that's the one step I kind of don't like. You can still get the single cards. They could come from either the classic or the Goblins and Gnomes expansion, but the packs will only be from the expansion. And that one is the tipping point for me that I don't like that piece.
I like to think that, again, if you talk about going down the road, if they have 5, 10 expansions, is that how it's always going to be? Is Arena only ever going to award the most recent expansion?
Yeah.
And I would like to think that what they could do instead is, instead of giving a pack, it gives you like a token. You take that token into the shop and then you buy whatever you want. Buy one pack of whatever.
See, now that I could get behind.
Maybe that's just something they couldn't code in yet.
That I could definitely get behind. Here's a pack token, and you go and you get a classic, you get a Goblins and Gnomes, you get a whatever, Ice Crown Citadel, whatever they have the next 7 expansions as, go and pick the pack you want. That I could get behind. That would be pretty cool, especially for those people that are the gotta collect them all type people.
Or if you come into the game late and you want to build up your collection through Arena.
True.
Get the basic cards, yeah.
Biggest feature probably, though, card-wise, we're going to see obviously more creatures and stuff. And I don't know how I feel about this one either. It's obviously being Goblins and Gnomes, we've got a lot of RNG elements on some of the abilities, which I think kind of takes away from, well, it could be argued right now, right? Let me get your take on this. It could be argued right now, right, that there are a collection of decks that most people are using at this point. All the key high-level strats have been played out and mapped out with the deck combinations you can have now. And for the most part, when you queue up, you're going to see one of those particular decks. I haven't really as soon as I've seen somebody's opening 2 or 3 plays, you pretty much know what type of strategy their deck is going for just because you've seen them cookie cutter build it out. So I like the aspect of RNG in that it can kind of mix that up. But I also don't like it from a respect of, look, I want these cards in my deck because they do certain things, and I'm formulating a strategy. I don't want to flip a damn coin to make sure that strategy goes off, right?
Yeah, it's going to result in a lot of swingy games. It's either going to be you're going to get your random stuff to go off all the time, and you're going to feel great about it, and your opponent's going to feel like crap because, oh my god, it hit the right enemy again. I had a game the other day where I was playing against someone. I think he played out Ragnaros, or no, he played a thing that killed one of my minions at random when he played it, and I had like 7 minions out, and it got the one that I didn't want him to kill. So the one that had 7 health. So I was like, oh jeez.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's the thing. Or it's going to be the opposite when you play that stuff. It's always going to hit the wrong stuff. You're going to get thrashed, 30-0, and you're just going to move on. So it's the sort of thing that you can't really necessarily rely on. Like I don't think super high level tournament, stuff in the rank 1 to 10 is really going to be that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't see them putting too many of the RNG cards in the deck.
Yeah, it'll be a fun thing to play around with in lower ranks or in casual games, and obviously in Arena, what the heck, see if I get lucky. But I don't think I think some of them are going to be more reliable than others. Like I can't think of one of the old cards. Just look at something like Animal Companion. That gets played in just about every hunter deck.
Right.
Because it's still going to give you something good, even though it's kind of random. So there might be a few of them that still fit into that kind of mold, but I don't think you're going to see like just a deck using 10 or 20 of these kind of cards.
Perhaps the biggest Hearthstone piece of this, though, is spectator mode.
Oh yeah.
Finally. Now, you can shut it off if you don't want your friends to spectate on you and tell you how bad you are, like all of my friends would.
I'm totally going to spectate you.
I know. You can shut it off, but you do have the ability now to go and spectate on your friends' matches, which is going to make streaming and homebrewed tournaments so much easier. Because, man, some of the custom software that was being used to get the tournament view to see both, it was a mess. So this is going to be a nice feature, and something we all knew was coming. It was just a matter of time, and here we go. We're getting it next month.
Sure.
What else? Heroes of the Storm obviously came up quite a bit with its transitioning from technical alpha to first alpha squared to second. I don't know what the hell Blizz is calling it these days.
Late access, later early-ish access.
Right, early-ish access. Who knows? So there wasn't a whole ton of Heroes of the Storm news, but there was some big things. 3 new maps teased, including one Diablo-inspired one, which looks pretty badass to me. I'm digging that one. Perhaps the biggest, though, was new characters. The Lost Vikings. Yes.
Now, you were all talking. Was it you who was saying the other day that you saw they re-trademarked the Lost Vikings? You weren't sure how you felt about it.
Yep. And then also on a separate subject, when I was surfing through trademarks, EA trademarked Battletoads too.
Oh, that was it.
That's the one that you might be talking about. But Lost Vikings was like, oh, I wonder where we're going to see that. And here we go, Heroes of the Storm. So you have all 3. They play as one cohesive unit, or you can control all 3 of them individually. And Blizz has already kind of come out and said this one is insanity level difficulty to try and control, because you do have a limited ability set. They're not going to give massive full ability sets to each of the 3 Lost Vikings, but it is really cool, I think, to see them brought into this universe, and then maybe like see Blackthorn and other IPs from Blizzard's long past brought in here as well. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm telling you right now, I would be terrible at this character. I have a hard enough time controlling 1, let alone having to control 3. So really, that was it. I mean, not too much on the Heroes of the Storm front besides the new character and teasing 3 new battlegrounds, which we'll see sometime in the future, right?
Not really, no.
Are you a Heroes of the Storm guy? I mean, I know you're not terribly into MOBA, but you play it occasionally. Are you a Storm guy?
Not into MOBAs, not into early access, so I haven't played the Storm yet. I'll definitely give it a shot when it comes out, because people are talking about how it, again, like with Hearthstone, it's a little more accessible, a little more simple maybe, so might be something that I've got some interest in.
I don't know if simple is the word, but it is definitely more accessible.
Sure.
I would play Heroes, and I've played a lot of Heroes of the Storm. I would venture a guess that if you totaled up my time on League of Legends since it's come out versus when I got access to Heroes of the Storm months and months ago, I've probably played Heroes of the Storm more, just because it is more accessible to me. And I'm a MOBA noob. I'm not very good at them. I enjoy them, but I'm definitely the guy that you're swearing at in your microphone because I walked somewhere I wasn't supposed to, or I jungled and I have no idea what the hell I'm going to be doing if I'm jungling anyway. What's a jungler do? Great. Now, but I do find Heroes of the Storm more accessible, sans the items and stuff like that, where League of Legends has always been a little intimidating to me because I just don't have the time. I realize that's all it is, right? It's just a difference on having the time to do the research and play with things out and realize if I'm going to play with this hero, this champion, this is the item path that I want to go in. This is the order that I'm going to want to level things up in. And I just don't have the time to sink into that. And so Heroes of the Storm makes that a little more accessible to me. So finally, the big news. New IP. We kind of wondered, what was BlizzCon's big announcement going to be this year? We already knew Draenor was coming. We already knew the date it was coming in 3 days here from the day of this recording. You'll be watching this the day Draenor releases. We already had Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone news. We didn't think we were going to get a Diablo announcement. I mean, with the
Sure.
expansion just coming out there, we really didn't think we were ready for a StarCraft 2 expansion or a StarCraft 3 announcement. So we were kind of wondering, what is BlizzCon's big announcement going to be? And it was Overwatch, a trademark that was reported on back in July that just kind of disappeared. All the news on it, and then boom, it shows up at BlizzCon. So I'm gonna show you a little Overwatch here while we talk about this. This is the gameplay trailer, by the way, guys. There's one gameplay and one cinematic trailer. What did you think? First off, right out of the bat, obviously Team Fortress 2 comparisons, right?
Yeah, that's what I come up with. That's what most people come up with, except for the one guy who commented on my article, said, "Why is this journalist comparing it to Team Fortress 2?" Journalist in quotes. But yeah, I mean, it's an arena battler with, over-the-top cartoonish characters. I mean, again, that's not necessarily unique to Team Fortress 2. It's not that.
No.
It's not that they're the only game out there that does that. I referenced Loadout, and I referenced what else? I said something else in my article. But anyway, yeah, Battlecry. There's another game that's coming out that they're working on, Bethesda ZeniMax Studios. So yeah, and again, it's like we say, they take some concept, whether it's in CCGs or MMOs. This is what they talked about during the announcement. Like we do this. We take what's out there, and we kind of put our own spin on it to make it our own game. And being this from Blizzard, you expect it's going to be pretty decent quality. It's going to be something that's fun, something that's enjoyable, and the big question, of course, we have is whether it's going to be something that's free to play.
Right, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second because I've got some thoughts on. I think this is going to be free to play, and I've got some thoughts on why, and we'll kind of get into that before we wrap up. I do like. Obviously, it looks super fun. I mean, and that's just. I guess that's just Blizzard doing their thing. It looks great. It looks like a blast. The different heroes that they've got going on in the game make it feel a little bit different than a Team Fortress or a Battlecry or something like that, where this game is about the heroes. And each one has its own particular identity and backstory, and it's not just go in and pick a class and go and play that. You're playing these particular heroes that all fall into this storyline. So I really like that aspect of it. Really diverse lineup of heroes too, right? I mean, it wasn't
11 of them, I think.
Yeah.
11,
and you look, I mean, it's all kinds of shapes, sizes, genders, ethnicities. I mean, the Blizzard kind of really did well here. At least to start, showing a very diverse playing field. And they even said that during BlizzCon, that they felt like they wanted everybody to feel like they were represented somewhere in this game. So kudos to that. I mean, and the heroes just look freaking awesome. I want to play the Reaper so badly. That's just the one that reached out to me the most. What about you? Are you going to jump in?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Beta signups are already live. We're going to see that in 2015.
Do we need beta? Don't we have connections?
Well, we don't know. We don't know. It might not be free to play.
That's true. I guess I should just sign up.
Here's the deal. They officially said this was their and how the leader of development doesn't know. That was my favorite quote. It was something like, "I'm not the one to ask about payment model." Actually, you are.
Yeah, you kind of are.
You kind of are. But the official statement is they're not sure whether they want to go free to play or if it should be a one-time box purchase thing. Obviously, something like this isn't going to have a sub, so we don't have to worry about that. So one-time box fee or free-to-play. And you had put in a quote here from, what is this, Jeff Kaplan, game director.
Kaplan, yep.
Said they insist that whatever model it ends up, it has to be, quote, a fair deal without people feeling ripped off. We're probably less believers in customizing abilities in this game, thank God. Again, because they want that whole hero aspect play. You're not cultivating your own character. You're playing a particular hero that has a set of abilities. Only because it's a game about heroes, like the Reaper does Shadow Walk. I don't think this is a game where we could swap Shadow Walk for, a grappling hook or something like that. But we really like character customization, and you've seen it across other games. Probably expect something there. To me, that says skins.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe effects.
Yeah.
Different colored lasers or whatever.
This has to be free to play. It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, because again, you look at what Blizzard's been doing. I mean, I guess you could say Diablo 3 doesn't fit the mold, but you look at Heroes and Hearthstone, and that's been more of their model recently. And that's what a lot of people were wondering about Titan. A lot of people thought Titan was going to be a free to play game too. So, and they say they've taken some elements of Titan and put it in Overwatch. So conspiracy theory there.
Right.
But
And
yeah.
we talked about that when Titan was canceled weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago. We said we're going to see these features, some of this Titan
they're not
assets
gonna throw
in
it
other games. They're not throwing it all out.
So yeah, I mean it's their trend. They realized the trend of the industry. I mean, Diablo being a PC game and being part of the being part of the Diablo universe and being also a console game eventually, it made sense, I think, for that to be a one-off purchase. But this, like I said, this is not what Team Fortress 2-ish games do. They're always free to play, just like MOBAs. MOBAs are free to play, so Heroes of the Storm kind of had to be to match up.
Yeah, and that's where my big brainchild of this has to be free to play comes from, is just the track history of what's been going on at Blizzard over the last couple of years. You know, Hearthstone hits a market that they weren't in at all. They figured they could get in well and do it nicely, and all your major competition was free to play, with the exception of maybe Magic the Gathering. Those aren't free to play, although they have trials and whatever. Doesn't count. And then you have obviously Heroes of the Storm. Let's get into the MOBA market, something we're not in, and the big dog there, League of Legends, Dota 2, free to play. You know, you don't, and then with this, you have the, like you said, the Team Fortress 2s, the other arena shooter games like this. They're free to play. You don't put yourself into a market that you're not in already to try and make some money and put something new out there, and then hamstring yourself by making your payment model radically different from what has proven to be successful in that particular genre. That's just my feeling on it, that this has to be free to play.
Yeah, almost certainly. And Jeff Kaplan knows.
And yeah, Jeff Kaplan definitely knows. Definitely knows. I'm not the one to ask. You kind of are, game director. You kind of are the one to ask about that. Speaking of MOBAs, let's move on. Do MOBAs have to be big to succeed? This was a really interesting piece that Mr. Winter, you put up on the site earlier this week on the tales of Dawngate from EA being canceled. So take us through this a little bit, because there was some interesting feedback from viewers on the site here. You guys definitely check out the article on mmobomb.com.
Yeah, I mean, I actually can't even take credit for coming up with this idea. I remember I saw it on some article commenting on Dawngate. I saw one of the commenters saying that this is how it has to be, that MOBAs have to be big to succeed. And I thought, well, maybe he's kind of right. So I kind of just kept spewing out thoughts on it, and the notion being that they tend to be marketed as the big esport experience and become great and become, make millions of dollars on the circuit or whatever. That's how people tend to view MOBAs. Even the smaller ones that aren't necessarily looking for the multi-million-dollar audiences, they almost all have some sort of cash prizes involved. And it just makes me wonder if you can have a MOBA that doesn't have that. I mean, is that part of it? Do you have to have that thrust at a big tournament scene, big money, big prizes and all that? Can you actually be just a game people play, just a game to have fun? And certainly not everybody plays a MOBA to try and become the best in the world. Obviously you and I being crappy players, we realize that's not the case. But for all the marketing hype that goes into trying to build these games up, and for so many people that realize they have a chance at doing this, it just makes me wonder if you can still succeed while not having that in your game and not having it be really a promise and a goal for people.
See, now I read the piece and I can see where you're coming from. I think you can. I think you can be a small MOBA. However, not tied to EA.
Sure.
No way. I mean, and we've seen, Heroes of Newerth do pretty well. Smite is one that comes to mind. Yes, it might be bigger now, but that was a slow burn.
Sure.
To get Smite to a bigger audience. And I remember covering that on MMO Bomb 2 and 3 years ago, when it was just becoming something and a couple of people were playing it and it was a slow burn. Now they're getting up there. I think you can make a small MOBA and make a small MOBA that's going to have a slow burn growth effect over time, or just grow to a cap and hold that cap. That's fine, but you can't be associated to EA or Blizzard or those types of companies, because those types of companies, that's not what they're interested in. They don't want the slow burn. I think Hi-Rez did a great thing with Smite and built it up and built it up and built it up and built it up. And now, I don't know if I would still put it in the competitive category with Dota and League of Legends, but it's certainly in the conversation.
Sure, they're at least
it's
throwing
some
reasonable money figures out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some nice prizes, though. So I think you can build a small MOBA and be okay with it, but it's going to come from a smaller company. Heroes of Newerth is, well, now Perfect World Entertainment, and that's been on and off again anyway for so long. Who knows at any given point if the game's actually running? It's only been canceled and closed multiple times. So I think you can, but if you're EA, you're Blizzard, you're, you start naming the big companies, Bethesda, any of these guys, you're not going to make that small MMO or MOBA and be okay with a slow burn. You want to splash onto the scene, because the only reason you're doing it is because of how damn profitable League of Legends and Dota is.
Exactly.
So I agree with you up to that line. Once you take the company out of the equation, and maybe it's a small company or an indie company, I think, yeah, you can be a small MOBA and still be very, 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 very successful. But if you're an EA, no. No, you got to go big or go home, and unfortunately, I think Dawngate capped. It started getting big, and the growth was there, and 18 months later, it was like, okay, we're still pretty much at the same audience size we were 6 months ago. Scrap it.
Yeah, could be. I'm just looking at some of the replies, and especially some of the people saying that, yeah, the people also make it into something, and that a lot of them expect that you're going to be something huge if you play a MOBA. So if that potential to be huge isn't there, to be making millions of dollars or whatever, does that turn people off? It's like I kind of compared it to the end game. Like if you think an MMORPG has to have a rating end game, and it doesn't have it, a lot of people are going to think it's less of an MMORPG and aren't going to play it for that reason. So
right.
Does some people feel that same way about a MOBA? Is big cash prizes and world championship tournaments, is that part of a MOBA? And if it's not there, it just automatically is seen as a lesser game.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy into that part of it. I get it from the publisher's standpoint. And if you're a big publisher, you're looking to make big money because you see how much big money is out there. From the player standpoint, and maybe you're right. Maybe there's a lot, especially in that audience, that MOBA audience, maybe there's a lot of, hey, if there's not a lot of people playing this, then I don't even want to play it anymore. But I like some bizarre games. And
well, you and I are weird.
Yeah, we're a bit off. But there are games that, I don't care if I'm one of 15 people playing it. Keep the frickin' servers up, because I'm going to keep playing this damn thing. How much do you need per month, right? Just tell me. We'll take care of this. Okay, that's too much. Never mind. I'm going to have to back out. So I do like some eclectic stuff out there. So to me, that one doesn't apply too much, but I definitely can see it from the publisher's standpoint. What do you guys think? Does a MOBA have to be big to succeed? Obviously, going up against League of Legends, Dota 2, Smite, games like that, there's certainly incentive to want to be big and get into that money cash prize, dollar, but do they have to be a successful MOBA? Let us know in the comments below. I almost didn't want to talk about our last news topic today.
We'll keep it short. We're kind of running long anyway.
Let me just pull up some video for you guys.
So you can't see.
Yet another bad week for Archeage. I feel like we should play taps. Man. So the new Aurora content dropped. Part of the big hoopla around the whole update was, of course, finally additional land was being added so people could grab it and put their houses up, right? Big drawing point. They were like, 60% more land. Yay. And then the launch got screwed up. Maintenance had to be performed pretty much right after launch, and for some inexplicable reason, the servers were left online while the maintenance happened. If you were on the game fine, great, no problem. Good. You won the Archeage lottery that day. If you weren't on, you couldn't get in because all that the login stuff was shut down. So guess what happened? Predictably, players claimed up most of the land, and it was pretty much grabbed in most cases. Now, I should preface this by saying this is on the American servers. At least publicly, what Tryon Worlds has stated is that the bugs that caused this were fixed just prior to EU servers having the Aurora content pushed in. So our friends in the EU, from everything I've read and some people that I've talked to in the EU that have played this, they had a great time with the competitive aspects of trying to get this land and guilds and all kinds of good stuff. But none of that content, that competitive nature that's supposed to be one of the driving forces for Archeage, happened in America because most people couldn't get in, and the ones that were there had no competition. So players claimed up all the land, no point for competition. That's what the players are giving the feedback as. But the producer's letter seems to say otherwise. I was a bit confused by this one. So most players claim, hey, all this stuff got grabbed with no competition, and there should be a rollback, there should be a rollback, there should be a rollback. Tryon in their producer's letter says, no, we're not going to do a rollback, and we don't feel like a rollback is necessary. Yes, what happened sucked. We're going to learn from it on our future ones, but due to how complex the Aurora patch was, we can't roll things back. And our stats show that the land was grabbed up, and there were very few people or characters that grabbed up excessive amounts of land. And so we're just going to leave it the way it is. So it's kind of, again, Tryon saying one thing, players saying that's not what happened at all. Yeah. Kind of a failed launch there. Missed opportunity, I think.
I guess at this point with Archeage, if I'm gonna look at it in any way optimistically, I'm gonna look at it as being a little comparative to, like EVE Online, and we thought that this was gonna kind of be almost like the land-based EVE Online, it's gonna be the competitive sandbox, whatever. And EVE, the difference is that it probably had issues when I wasn't around when it launched, but it probably had issues. Probably had a lot of people being butthurt over having their sectors taken or whatever. The difference is that it wasn't as big a deal.
Right.
Like there obviously weren't 7 million WoW players or whatever who were kind of interested in it because there wasn't WoW back then. It didn't exist. Now Archeage comes around, a lot more people into MMOs, a lot more people to get into it, and to get really pissed off when things go wrong.
Yep.
I like to think that maybe Archeage, once everyone who just absolutely hates what happened can get out of it, realize it's not for them, maybe it'll settle down, and in the long term still be, something close to an EVE level of success.
I want to believe that so badly.
The thing is, you and I are not going to be of those people because we're not the hardcore 22 hour a day EVE players who are going to get into it. Some people are going to be, and they're going to like it, and it's going to stick around. I like to think that's it.
I want to
but
believe
the reason it's got
so
so much
badly.
negativity right now is because there are so many more people than there were back in the day.
I don't know if that's even it, though, because I tend to believe that it's just Tryon, and I'm sorry, guys.
I'm trying to take the optimistic
I
look.
know
I
you
agree,
are.
I agree.
I know
It could just
Jason
be
Winter
Tryon.
is trying to take the glass half full here, which is absolutely amazing to me on this particular topic, because I'm like the eternal optimist, and this one, I'm sorry, I very rarely swear on the free-to-play cast. This is downright fucked up. I mean, it is at this point. Tryon, a company that I really, really like when it comes to one game, and the way they handle it. And I know it's a different beast because they made it and published it, where this one they're just publishing. But the XL Games Tryon thing doesn't matter. Tryon, it's your reputation out there in our sector of the world, and God, this is just one bad thing after another. The 10% patron discount still isn't in the damn game. It still isn't. What they did a day or two ago, was they put a 10% bonus to credit pack purchases. Not a 10% marketplace discount, a 10% bonus pack or credit pack bonus when you actually make the credit pack purchases. So, and even that, they didn't go all the way back and do it to founders statuses. They only did it from Head Start forward. So all those people that bought the founders packs that had the 10% marketplace discount, you got hosed from the time you got it up until Head Start. It was only from Head Start forward. The 10% bonus was retroactively applied. Good. Okay, fine. Great. This isn't what you promised, but at least you seem to be trying. I don't think this is an equitable solution at all, by the way. Not at all. Even just from a math standpoint, it's not equitable. It's a small difference, but there are differences. The 10%, here's the other thing. The 10% bonus was not applied retroactively to credits purchased. It wasn't, hey, Jason has purchased 10,000 credits, so here is 1,000 bonus credits for you to use. It was applied to the dollar amount that Jason had spent. So, so if it cost you $10 to get 1,000 credits, and that's not the conversion, I'm just trying to keep the math simple. If you spent $10 to get 1,000 credits, they didn't hand you 100 bonus credits. They handed you $1 worth of credits. I know mathematically in that example it's the same thing, but it's not when you extrapolate it out.
Well, especially because usually if I paid $10 for 1,000 credits, what I probably got was 800 credits plus 200 bonus or something like that.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying mathematically it sounds like it's dead on. It's not. Not to mention that a 10% marketplace discount would have applied to any item in the store purchased with credits. Fine. Great. A 10% bonus to credit packs is not the same thing because you don't just get credits from buying them. And that's the only time you get this 10% bonus is when you buy credits. You can use Apex. I mean, there's a number of other ways to get credits, and you don't get bonus credits on those, where a 10% patron discount would have been applied to any item in the store regardless of when you bought it or how you obtained the credits to buy it. So, yeah, and this way is saying we will give you a discount if you give us more money. I hate it. And when it rains, it frickin' pours for this damn game because a player found a way to crash servers at will. At will. Mm-hmm. And at first...
Using his mind and maybe a little code, too.
And he posted it in the forums, so I read the forum post, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of a dick move, right? Putting this in the forums. Why don't you contact support and everything? And then I'm thinking, why would you contact support? Go to their support forums, and it's taking months to get support tickets answered. I probably would have taken this to the forums, too. Nobody believed him, of course. Nobody believed him. And this dude went about it, or girl, I don't know, so much anonymity on this particular one. Fake email, fake proxies, all that jazz, so they don't get banned. Totally was like, look, I love this game. I need Tryon to contact me so that I can show them this before other people figure out how to do it. And I feel like the forums is going to be the fastest way to get a response from you guys to contact me. And I love the game and I don't want it to happen. So I'm not going to tell you how, but it can be done. And so, of course, nobody believed them, right? Or her. And they started posting, well, take this server down, take this server down, take this server down. Sure enough, boom, boom, boom. Each one called out at a certain time starts getting taken offline. And person pops back in and says, okay, I took it down, this one's down, sorry guys, and then it gets down. He does it like 2 or 3 times and then says, I'm not going to do it anymore. I think I've proven my point, and I don't want this to impact other players. Tryon, please contact me. The icing on the cake is the way the forum posts end. Of course, it was closed by Tryon like 3 hours after it started, and it says, we are working with the player to fix the issue. We're closing this thread, which immediately flags to me totally legit.
Yeah.
Totally legit. If Tryon's like, yeah, we're going to call them. Tryon. Yeah, let's just go straight to the bombs because I got more on that one. Okay, so I'm going to go first. I've got 2 today. I've got a dub bomb for Double Action Boogaloo. I did a first look on it last weekend. I streamed it during Bomb Live yesterday. It's ridiculous, mind-numbingly fun. You don't have to pay attention to a damn thing. You don't have to be good at shooters. It doesn't matter. It's a Half-Life 2 mod. It's totally free on Steam. Double Action Boogaloo. Every stunt movie you've ever seen, boom, in one game. Great. A-bomb. Tryon Worlds. And I am so torn about this, Jason. I really, 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 really had a lot of respect for this company a few years ago. Rift, to me, was a very good game. I still play Rift. I streamed it just a couple weeks ago on my way to level 65 in the Nightmare Tide expansion. I'm a big fan of their cash shop, the way they've done it. They even have gear in their cash shop, and I'm okay with the implementation because it still encourages you're never going to be the best by using the cash shop. And just all around, just very impressed. I'm not impressed with them as a publisher at all. And Archeage is just the latest example of this. The End of Nations debacle, the Warface. We're going to publish this, and then all of a sudden Warface just disappeared from their site with almost no word. this XL Games may be responsible for 90% of what's going on with Archeage, and that's fine. You know, they may be, as the developers, Trion may be very limited on what they can do here, but it doesn't matter, because you're allowing somebody else to use your reputation, and it's not working out for you right now. It really isn't. So A-bomb, Trion Worlds. Mr. Winter.
I'm going to give a da-bomb to South Park.
I knew this was coming. You loved that episode.
Yep. If you saw the episode last week, now it had been like I said, probably about 10 years since I watched an episode of South Park, and I'd forgotten how, for all the farting jokes and bad words that they bleep out and whatever, they actually do really hit at the heart of stuff, fairly often, and they did a great job with their free-to-play episode last week when they're. When they're talking about, when they're showing the company, the Canadian Ministry of Free-to-Play Gaming, or whatever it is, the conversations they have are, I've been in conversations kind of like this, not with free-to-play gaming, but just in general about how can we squeeze more money out of our customers. That sort of, that happens. There's no doubt that happens. Now, sometimes a little less overtly like that. Sometimes, though, you're just in a closed meeting room, and that's pretty much probably how it gets discussed. And then later on, when the devil is explaining to Stan how free-to-play games work, how they induce dopamine to be injected into your brain at regular intervals to try and get you to like the game more. Again, if you read studies, that's exactly what they do.
Yep.
So there's no doubt that Parker and Stone did their research in terms of that sort of stuff to figure out exactly how to phrase these conversations to make them appear realistic. And it's great. It's funny from its own standpoint, and just also funny if you kind of know that they're really correct on so many things.
Absolutely. Randy Blythe says, "Da-bomb to MMO Bomb for having more content nowadays. Used to look at the site and maybe see 1 or 2 posts a day. Now it's much better." Well, thank you. Mr. Winter and I are working very hard to keep the content stream up.
I'm working hard. I don't know about...
A-bomb to Neverwinter, mainly Perfect World Entertainment, for sending mass emails stating claim your free pack, then at the very bottom saying with any purchase of Zen. Seriously? Any company that does this ever.
That's how it always is. I think I tweeted something.
You mean like a 10% credit pack purchase bonus? Only after you purchase?
I tweeted something the other day that said, I don't remember what it was for, but it was something like, get a free massage or whatever. And of course, free was with an asterisk after. That was right in the email. So it's like, anytime I see that, it ain't free.
You got to take this next one while I get the picture up here.
All right. This is from Adrian87, my boy, Adrian. It says, da-bomb to Jason's Halloween costume from his stream. It gives me the creeps. Too bad I missed it live. And I suppose Magic Man has the picture up right
I do. You're zombie Roman here.
I'm a zombie Roman because I was playing Rome Total War 2. Or Rome 2 Total
And you have a pumpkin queen in the back, it looks like.
Yes, the pumpkin queen was my makeup artist. She's the one who did all my makeup. I did the outfit, the actual laurel wreath, and I'm actually wearing a t-shirt, like just a plain white t-shirt, and I've got a bed sheet over my shoulder as a toga. So
fantastic. Mega17 says, A-bomb to EA for pulling the plug on Dawngate. Game wasn't perfect, as it copied League of Legends' horrendous currency grind business model, but being someone who is following the development, I knew they were planning to shift into Dota 2's model where all characters were free. Dawngate's role system and post-game reward system work immensely to shift the typically toxic MOBA atmosphere into a positive experience in many cases. EA sucks for cutting development short before they had a chance to shift gears.
And that's kind of what you were talking about, is that they were doing the slow build-up and then just decided it wasn't fast enough. And
yeah. If you have a big company like that, you can't do the slow build-up. I think Smite is like the perfect size to get away with a slow build-up. Any bigger, and even Smite wouldn't have, or High-Res wouldn't have been able to do what they did with Smite. Talking is hard. Hey, the porn stash is gone. I didn't even say anything at the top of the show. Sorry. Go ahead, you can have the next one.
Okay. Moving on, this is from EU Newsant. So I'd like to give a da-bomb to my job. All right. It's stressful, but it helped me get a new computer. I'm in the process of getting it. And an A-bomb to games that label themselves free to play when they also have a subscription. They should call themselves, as they are, freemium. And it's actually interesting that I'm having... we talked about this a little bit with response to Super Data, that market research firm, and how they're labeling stuff. And because he talked to me before, the president of Super Data emailed me to talk to me about this, and I mentioned that same thing, is sort of how they treat pay-to-play as anything that has a subscription, even if it's free originally. I said that's kind of confusing, and maybe we should call it something else, and he said he might get back to me, and we'll to talk about that. So.
Yeah, you and I were kind of like, well, if we went by that model, we would be able to cover this, this, and this, which would be cool. But then this, and this, we technically wouldn't be able to cover because we're not calling it free to play. So it was really weird how some of the industry standards and labeling is shifting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Question of the week last week is, would you ever buy a lifetime subscription? If you have already, would you buy it again knowing what you do now about your game of choice and why? Shadow Wolf says, I got 2 lifetime DC Universe Online and Secret World. I play more DC Universe. Only way that I would buy the lifetime again is if the store had gift items to give your friends. The odd part is DC Universe does not have gift items to give other players. So, yeah. Got a question for you guys. Hey, we love questions. Go ahead, throw them in there. Whatever you want to ask. I got questions for you guys. If MMORPGs made you pay to raid to get legendary item drops, would you pay to raid? Edit, I mean real money. You had to pay real money to raid.
Probably not.
I would not. And that's part of the problem that I have with my love-hate relationship with Star Wars: The Old Republic. Is, you essentially, if you're doing a free-to-play thing, essentially at some point you're going to have to make a purchase if you actively want to do that rating or flashpoints on a particular schedule with a bunch of people, because you're so limited. So I almost feel like you have to subscribe if that's what you want to do, even with PvP too, or at least make those purchases, and I don't like that. When I play Star Wars: The Old Republic, full disclosure, I always resub and just play, so I don't have to deal with any of that crap. Go ahead there, sir.
All right, this is from Jedi Master Spock.
Boy, there's a nerd rage name, right? Everybody was just like, ah!
May the Force be with you. He says, yes, I would purchase a lifetime subscription for Star Trek Online. Again, money well spent.
You kind of liked yours. You didn't pay for yours, but you dig yours.
Yeah, I mean, I've, again, not having the perspective of what it's like to be a free player in that game, I don't know exactly what you can get by. Obviously, being kind of perfect world-ish, I would probably like it for a while and then hate it. It's a good system for at least early on, but again, once you get to the far points of it, to the higher levels, probably would be iffy.
Fresh Undead says, still love that name. Fresh Undead's commented on an episode or 2 in the past. I love that name. As far as lifetime subs concerned, I've been burned too many times by founder packs when I buy in early and end up disliking the game. On that note, I love buy-to-play games. It's kind of like lifetime sub, but without the crazy price hike. Double for Aeon. I know it's older, but it does free-to-play as good or better than most. Ton of content. Best character creator out there. I agree on the content. I agree that in North America, it's a damn fine payment model. And yeah, not too much that I disagree with in that sentence.
Yeah, and what he's talking about too is, it sucks when he buys a lifetime sub and then hates the game. That's just like a lot of people did with, even with something like Archeage, which wasn't a lifetime sub, but a lot of them got that $150 pre-package and are just hating it.
Screw you on your discount. Last one.
All right, again from EU Newsunt.
Yeah, I broke the comment up there. Just
okay, all right. The question of the week, he says, I did consider subbing for Champions Online when they had a sale, which is also a Cryptic Perfect World game, but unfortunately I'm having issues using my card online, so that was the end of that. I have, on extremely rare occasions, used the cash shop. I tend to play MMOs completely free to play, which is probably why I hop a lot, either when I get bored or you get to a point where it's no longer fun or playable without a cash shop.
Ah, the old MMO ADD.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're going to get a lifetime sub, it's got to be a game that you are damn certain you're going to play forever, pretty much.
Pretty much just one question we want to ask you for the question of the week. We talked about it. We gave you our opinions. Put it in the comments below. Will Overwatch from Blizzard be free to play? Pretty much the only question we can ask you today. Make sure you put your weekly bombs in the bottom there. Dub bomb, A bomb for something good. You guys were great last week with a ton of bombs. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. Love it. Make sure you give us your questions and your answers down below. We'll be sure to feature them on a future show. Before we head out here, Mr. Winter, tell these ladies and gentlemen where they can follow you.
Find me on Twitter at MMOBomb. Or at, wow, okay, at Winter Informal.
Take 2.
Find me on Twitter at Winter Informal. Find me streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter. And also blogging, jasonwinter.wordpress.com.
Sweetness.
I've just totally forgotten where I am.
You can find him at Jason Winter.
No, I can't. I want that, but there's some guy who tweeted once that in 2009 we still got it.
Magic Man, aka Mike Byrne. You can follow me on Twitter at magicman1, MAGICKMANN1. Until next time, gang, as always, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.